X.
Hello everyone. Today I'm bringing you a quick overview video of the Ultra Pro character clamp figure boxes and how well they work for Dungeon Dice Monsters figures. As we all probably know by now, the cylinders are what most Dungeon Dice Monster figures will come in, while these actually are pretty decent for the most part because they can be stacked one on top of each other and connected side to side. The plastic on them is fairly brittle, so they can be very easy to break. But for the most part, they're fairly decent, but they can be easy to have the clear body of them crack as well. Additionally, the method that they use for holding the figures in place is that little nub, which works decently. However, it doesn't always work. This is my yugioh that I got new in box, and I don't believe this is the one that came with it, but still, as you can see, it doesn't attach whatsoever. Of course, we can always try the other one. And oh, look, there we go. See, that one attaches pretty well. Get off there. And then here, the other one, like my blue eyes. That one is actually a pretty tight fit. I tested it before I started this video, and actually it did have a fairly tight fit. So as you can see, it's an alright way to connect these figures, but not all of them will fit very well. This is from an American set, and they, instead of being plastic, they're some type of rubber, unless it's really soft plastic. And because of that, it can hold on decently, at least. This one is actually a bad example because it has some type of adhesive, I guess. Either way, I've got so many of them. And again, the fact that you can stack them one on top of each other can make it good for displays or linking them together. Versus these Ultra Pro, which can't be linked side to side. However, you can stack them one on top of each other. So other than the stacking differences, one difference is the way the tops stay attached to the base. On the old one, they have small nubs that help hold it in place, just using a little bit of friction. But of course, they can get worn out over time. As you can see, this one doesn't really want to hold very well. Whereas these, those little pieces right there are actually magnets. So pops off very easily, and then boom, right back on. Which actually I very much prefer that because they should last a lot longer. And then its method of holding the figures actually is a spring-loaded grip with two levels, a lower and an upper level. And so you can simply put the figure in there. And because it's spring-loaded, it holds pretty well. As you can see, it took a lot of force for it to pop out. And then that was just using the top. So if you use the bottom, again, see, it actually holds it really well. Of course, if it's not set there just right, then a little bit of force might cause it to simply pop out. I've seen that happen. And there's really no lip or anything like that to help hold it. It's completely flat and somewhat shallow, but it should hold them pretty well unless you're throwing them across the room. Like that. Get back over here. So the biggest question is, why would they be worse? Or what limits do they have? Well, for one thing, just like the factory ones, cannot fit the Monster Lord. Even though it does have a square base, it simply does not open up wide enough to fit a Monster Lord figure. So unfortunately, he has to remain unprotected. Oh well, I've got plenty of those too. And then the next biggest question is whether or not the dimensions can fit every figure. Well, that's of course why I have many figures here. The Blue Eyes White Dragon, a fairly large figure. Look at him. Fits perfectly. Yep. Also, here we go. The Vor's Raider. Look at that. Fits perfectly. Even with the rubber base, it still grips on very well. So, this, I believe, is the largest dimension figure that I have, the Firewing Pegasus. And unfortunately, I tested this. Oh, trying to do this one-handed. It's a lot easier with two. I tested it beforehand. As you can see, it popped it right out because it simply does not fit with the dimensions of the figure. You can put the figure in there, but it's not going to stay secured. And I tested it on both the top and the bottom, both this top and bottom connector, and regardless, it simply sticks out too far. It's mostly because the figure sits so far back on the base and it has that long tail. Now that's of the figures I have. I don't have a complete collection, obviously, so there is likely many other figures that don't fit very well for these. So for the price, they're actually really high quality. It's made of much thicker plastic. As you can see, that's the thickness of the plastic of these versus this. Overall, I think that these are a great way to store most figures. Because, again, with the plastic that wears out on these, the tops definitely don't stay secure. Stacking them is all right. Again, if you are trying to do some sort of display, that's definitely not a bad way to do it. But I would also warn people to be careful because these nubs will break off very easily, or the plastic from this will crack. So if you're going for visual appeal, having them be broken really doesn't work. It just simply depends on what you prefer to store your figures in. Especially because you will likely have many of these. It may simply be the better option if you're trying to go on a budget due to the cost of being in this obscure hobby anyway. However, again, these are only about $6 and they're pretty high quality. So if you're trying to store your figures and you're willing to spend the money, these definitely are not a bad option at all. Again, tell me what you guys think. If you think that these were worth it, if you think that they may be good for you, because I would definitely recommend them. They should be easy to find at most game stores. If they could be found at mine, then they can probably be found somewhere else. Or if you still prefer the classic for its collection purposes. Thanks for watching.